Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday. I'm glad you're here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me know who's here. I'm sharing the group. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Tiffany. So we've been on for this is day 5. So the last 5 days, which today makes day 5. And I'm super duper excited about the conversation today. Normally, the lives would be about 5 to 15 minutes. I know we were on for a good little while yesterday. And nonetheless, if it does go over, then it is what it is. I don't mind that. But I just want you guys to don't have the expectation that it will always be 30 minutes, especially during the week, because it's very difficult for me to do that long in the morning unless I get up like at 4 o'clock and all that great stuff. So anyways, so let's go ahead and get started, you guys. Today we're talking about stop emotionally investing in your husband to change. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I know those that are going through or in a emotionally destructive or emotionally abusive marriage, or a marriage that or even a marriage that is disappointing. They spend a lot of time and energy in changing their husband, wanting their husband to change, wanting him to be different, wanting him to treat her different, and all these things are valid. However, what happens though is that it becomes your goal. It becomes your goal, your task, your mission in life to change your husband. And what I will say is, if his mother was not able to change him in the 20-something years she spent with him in her house, or maybe 18, 15, or whatever age he may have been, what makes you think that you can change him? I'm going to say that again. If his mother was unable to change him, what makes you think that you can? Change can only occur if the person that needs the change is willing to go after it. Change can only occur if the person that needs the change is willing to go after it. That's just like a cancer patient, a patient that has HIV, a diabetic patient, a patient that's struggling with hypertension. These people know that they have an issue. And 9 times out of 10, your husband knows that he has an issue. He knows something in his mind is telling him the way that he's treating you is not right. Somebody may have pointed it out, may have been his parents, his siblings, his friend. You may have pointed it out. The children may have pointed it out. It is evident. He may not understand or even care about the impact of it, but he knows that something isn't right in how he's treating himself and how he's showing up in that marriage. However, just because he knows something, that doesn't mean that he is automatically going to take action to change something. That's why I don't like that saying that knowledge is power, because that is not true. Simply having knowledge does not mean that you're powerful. Good morning, Sharon. It's only when that knowledge is applied that you become powerful. I'm going to say that again. Simply having knowledge does not mean that you're powerful. Only when you apply the knowledge that you have, then you become powerful. So you have to apply it. So what happens in a lot of marriages that are in this state is that the wife takes on the job of trying to change her husband. She becomes emotionally defeated, emotionally drained, overwhelmed, low energy, because all she is doing is trying to change him. And that becomes, at that point, an idol. When your entire focus, your all of your energy, every resource that you have is going into changing your husband. Now, I'm not saying that you can't pray for your husband, because you should do that every single day, diligently praying and fasting and believing God for his change. Absolutely. However, when you have become so invested, that's all you think about. When you wake up in the morning, you're trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to change him today? What can I do today? What resource can I get today to change him? All throughout your day, you're thinking about ways, how can I change him? When you go to bed at night, how can I change him? He needs fixing. Something is wrong with him. I need to change him. He has to see that change is required in order for the marriage to work. He has to be willing to go after change in order for the marriage to work. So some of you may be asking, well, Trell, I get what you're saying, I understand it, but it hurts so bad because, like I said yesterday, never in a million years would I have thought that I would have been in this scenario, that my husband would have been mistreating me, that we would have been separated, that we would be going through a divorce, that we would be in two different places. Never in a million years was this what I had envisioned. Because when we went to the altar, the judge, the whoever may have married you, you thought for sure that this would have been a long-term relationship, as marriage should be. It should be until death, until somebody dies, right? However, we understand that that does not always happen. So how do I do that? Because my energy is on him. I spent the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years giving. I've spent the last decade in this relationship. I've given him children. I've given him everything that I have. And I know that he's a good man. I know that he has potential. You know, we loved one another at some point. We were in love with one another. We had a blissful, happy marriage at some point. But at some point, something changed. Something happened. Something shifted. And now we are here and I can't fix it. For the first time, I can't fix it. You're not his therapist and you're not his mother. It's not your job to fix it. It is your job to pray for him. It is your job to cover him. It is your job to show up as a godly wife and a godly woman, more so in that marriage. So here are 3 things that I want to give you all. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the story of Abigail and Nabal. Abigail and Nabal. 1 Samuel 25. Abigail married this very mean-tempered. Well, you know what? I don't know if he was like that when they got married. So Abigail married this man called Nabal. At some point, this man was a very mean-spirited man. And his name means foolish. And Abigail married this man, and she was said to be a very beautiful and intelligent person. How many of you can relate to that? Beautiful, intelligent, working in her purpose, you know, confident woman. But she married this guy. And this guy almost cost her her life, literally. And although he was abusive toward her, I'm not sure the level of abuse. Although he was that way, she did not allow him to affect her life, affect her purpose. She came to the conclusion that this foolish, mean-spirited, evil-tempered man would never be in a position to love her or to be the husband that she wanted or desired. Let that sit right there for a minute. She came to grips with her reality. We talked about that on day 1, day 0, and day 1. She came to grips with her truth. She realized that this man would never be in a position to love her the way that she needed to be loved, and she gave up on that idea. She gave up on it. Read it, 1 Samuel 25. She gave up on the idea. Now, giving up on the idea doesn't necessarily mean I'm divorcing my husband. What that simply means is that I am no longer going to put my emotional or mental strength into trying to fix him. Instead, I'm going to redirect that energy on me. And I'm going to continue to transform. I am going to continue to evolve. I am going to continue to heal. I am no longer allowing him to negatively impact my existence. And that's why I love the Wives Who Win community. Because the Wives Who Win community is all about you working on you. Many people come into the community and are like, oh yeah, I'm going to have my marriage. It's going to be amazing. And it's going to be, you know, where it needs to be. And of course, we want that to be the end goal. Of course, we want your marriage to benefit as a result of your transformation. However, the end goal is not your marriage. The end goal or the purpose of that community is not to fix your husband, not to change your husband, but it is for you to be the light and for you to experience healing. So Nabal put Abigail in a position where she and their whole kingdom almost died. They almost got killed because he was a very selfish man. He was absorbed. He was a narcissist. He mistreated people. He did not, he did not return favors when people did things for him. He just felt like everybody owed him. He blamed people. Does any of this sound familiar to you? So this was the type of husband she had. So she had to intervene. She had to intervene and go see David because David was sending his men to kill Nabal and all of his kingdom. She had to go intervene and stop it. And when she went to David, she said, David, I know, my Lord, I know that this man, my Lord, because they would call their husbands my Lord, he is evil, he is foolish. Please forgive him on my behalf. And here is a small token. She took them gifts, food, and things like that of that nature, because that's what David had asked Nabal to do. And Nabal turned him down and said, I'm not feeding you. Who are you? When David had already protected his sheep and his crops and things of that nature. But he didn't feel like he owed David anything. So David was like, you know what? Go kill everybody in that household. But Abigail intervened because she realized that her husband was a fool. And some of you may have had to intervene because you realized that your husband was acting foolish, or he was being evil or mean-spirited or evil-tempered. Intervene with the children, the way he disciplined the children. Intervene with parental relationships. Intervene with friendships. Many of you have had to intervene because he was not acting like himself. So the first thing that Abigail had to do, I want you guys to write this down. She had to let go of the dream of having a loving husband in marriage, even though she was still married. She had to let go of the dream. Somebody write that down. Because she realized that this man will not be in a position to love me the way I need to be loved. She had to accept it. And part of her accepting it, I'm going to tell you this right now, you all. You have to grieve the relationship. And most of us, even going through the 5 stages of grief, most of us do not want to grieve. And you know why? Because we don't want to experience that pain. We don't want to come to the reality that something is wrong and it needs to be fixed, or something has died. Let's just be honest. Something has died. His love toward me has died. His affection toward me has died. This relationship, figuratively speaking, is dead. And I don't know how to resurrect it. And can I tell you something? You are not in a position to resurrect it. Only God can resurrect it. So she had to accept it, and she had to go through the grieving process. She had let go of the fantasy that somehow her husband will become the man that she longed for. She let it go. She had to release it. How many of you on here today and in this position are you able to let go of the idea that he's a righteous man, or he's manifested that righteousness? Because yes, we're calling those things that be not as though they were. We have them now, right? So we are believing God for that. But how many of you can let go of the idea? We know that God can work miracles. We know that God can resurrect. That's not the question here. However, unless he is a participator in his own healing, no resurrection is going to come forth. Again, until he is a participator in his own healing, no resurrection is going to come forth. So she had to let it go. And I'm going to tell you this, spring always follows winter. So although you're in a place and you're feeling like I'm grieving and this is hard, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I didn't imagine myself, my kids going through this. You have to make up in your mind that I'm letting go of the idea. I'm letting go of the desire even that he is going to be what I need for him to be. And I'm going to grieve. And the 5 stages of grief is your denial. You're probably there now. Many of you are at the anger stage. Many of you are bargaining right now, right? Bargaining. Before a loss, and this is what bargaining is before a loss, it seems like you will do anything if only your loved one would be spared. How many of you are at that place or just recently got out of that place? You're willing to do anything to the point that your husband has become your idol. Anything's on the table. There's nothing that you would not be willing to do to make sure your marriage is spared, to make sure your husband is spared. You're making false promises even to God. You're making false promises to yourself. God, if you only save my marriage. That's a dangerous prayer, because God wants to save you. God wants to save you. And if he had to choose, he's going to choose you, especially if you are in an abusive marriage. If he had to choose, he's going to choose you, and he's going to choose him. But he might not choose both of you in that communion together, especially in this time period when there is abuse happening. So God will always choose you. Some of you are in the bargaining stage. Then there's the depression stage, because after bargaining, your attention moves squarely into the present of empty feelings. And grief enters and lives deeper. It's like a deeper level of grief, deeper than you could have ever imagined. The depressive stage feels as though it will last forever. This hurt is going to last forever. This feeling is going to last forever. These thoughts are going to last forever. Nothing is changing. In fact, it's been a few weeks, it's been a few months, it's been a few years, and I am still feeling angry. I'm still mad. My heart is still hard. My mind just can't wrap around what has happened to my life in a matter of months. I can't seem to get it together. I can't seem to get it together. And then after depression, then you get into the place where you accept. And many of you are there. And acceptance is often confused with the notion of being all right or okay with what is happening. And that's not necessarily the case. Most people don't feel okay or all right about the loss or about the loss of the relationship. The stage is basically accepting the new reality, like Abigail did. Abigail accepted the new reality that her husband would not be able to be the husband that she needed him to be in this moment. And she accepted that. And she stopped investing emotionally. Number 2, you have to remain God-centered, not husband-centered, and not self-centered. You have to remain God-centered, not husband-centered, and not self-centered. Abigail depended on her strength outside of herself for wisdom and courage. Not her husband, not her neighbors, not her mom, her dad, but she depended on God, something above her. She knew that in order to live by faith and not by fear or anger, this is what she had to do. She had to lean on God's grace. She realized that she had a ministry relationship to her husband. So this is the thing. If you're choosing to stay, or if you've made this decision already to stay, you stay well. And God still has a role for you to play in that marriage. So if you're staying and you're angry all the time and you're breaking down all the time, you're yelling all the time, you're snarkish toward him, you're being nasty and rude and mad, that's not staying well. And you really need to reevaluate your decision of staying. Yeah. You really need to reevaluate, because if you're staying well, you're staying and there's peace there. There's still purpose there. Even though you're not receiving the love and companionship from your husband that you desire, there's still peace and there's still love there. There's still joy there, because you're bringing that to the home. You're bringing that in that environment. But if you're there and you're just mad and angry and bitter and crying all the time and yelling all the time and upset all the time, that's a very dangerous place to be in. And you need to reevaluate your decision, because that's only going to make matters worse. You're only going to continue to infect yourself, hurt yourself, feel down on yourself, feel disappointed with yourself, feel disappointed with him. So either you choose to accept it or you don't. And then number 3, don't allow your husband's meanful ways to infect your position. Don't allow his ways to poison you. So you have to guard your heart. You have to guard your mind. You have to put on the armor of God every single day. So when the fiery darts are all around you, you will not be impacted. You will not be affected by that. And sometimes this is the most difficult thing to do when you're in a destructive marriage. I often talk about the gas leak. If there is a gas leak in your home, it's very hard for you not to be infected by that gas leak. Am I right about it? Even if you have on a gas mask, even if you have on gas gear, it's very hard for you not to at some point to be affected by that leak. I did a training on the core. If you want access to that, you can inbox me. Living from your core, daily prayer, putting on the armor of God, Ephesians 6:10 through 20. That's like wearing your protective, that's your protective gear. That's the only protective gear that will protect you in the midst of a leaky situation. And one of the red flags that indicates you are not staying well, as I indicated before, is either you're breaking down physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually and not able to bounce back. So if you're breaking down mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually and not being able to bounce back, that's an indication that you're not staying well. So those are the 3 things that I want to share with you today, so you can stop investing emotionally in trying to change your husband and redirect that energy toward your transformation and your elevation. It is your time to live. It is your time to walk into your purpose. If you have no idea what God has called you to do, this is the time. Stop spending all of your energy, your time, and your resources on trying to change him. I'm not saying you can't invest in your marriage, but investing in your marriage and changing him are 2 different things. Because the manifestation of change, even in him and your marriage, starts with you. That starts with your healing. That starts with your deliverance. That starts with your transformation, your elevation. And whether or not those things around you conform, that is outside of your control. But you have to live. You have to live. So listen, you guys, let me know if you have any questions. This is day 5. Day 6, this is what we're talking about tomorrow. Day 6. Oh, I thought I was going to talk about mutuality today. No, tomorrow we're going to talk about mutuality and then reciprocity and freedom. I think I switched it up because I wanted to share how Abigail stayed, because I listened to 1 Samuel. I'm like, I want to share this because many are in that position where they have to stay, but they need to know how to stay well and not to stay with a hard heart and a bitter heart. And they have to come to grips with their reality of it is what it is. So tomorrow we will talk about mutuality and what that looks like and why that's required in order to heal the marriage, and why that's required in order for you to be able to stay and have a sound mind and not be riled up emotionally or otherwise in that marriage. So if you have any questions, I'll stay on for a second to answer a couple questions. So let me know. I'm looking for. Let me know. And go back and read 1 Samuel. If you guys have never read 1 Samuel 25, go back and read it. Yesterday, I also did a live coaching session. It was a laser coaching session, and I answered several questions. It was like 6 questions that individuals had submitted as it relates to marriage. So that was a 2-hour session, and I went in depth of answering those questions. We also worked through some worksheets. I gave them access to an assessment just to help them to be able to become the 21st century wife. So if you're interested in that, inbox me. So whichever one you're interested in, not inbox me, email me, and email me at info@wiveswhowin.com. If you're interested in getting access to the core training, and email me at info@wiveswhowin.com. If you're interested in getting access to the live Q&A laser coaching session, inbox me, email me, info@wiveswhowin.com. Thank you, Tiffany. So listen, you guys, it's been a blessing. Go ahead and get ready for church if that's what you're doing this morning. However, whatever you decide, make sure you're worshiping, praying, and praising, not just today, but every day, because it is a lifestyle. It's not about just waiting until Sunday for us to get our praise on and our worship on. But if you consider yourself a Christian, Christ follower, or a believer, this is a part of our lifestyle. So you guys will be on tomorrow about 6:30. Tomorrow is my day off, but I'm going to get up. And I'm going to, I have to get up and pray anyway for 6 o'clock. So I'll be up, and we'll be on about 6:30. And tomorrow morning it'll be short, and we'll be talking about mutuality. All right. You all be blessed. Bye.